and you can begin.
Okay, I will call the meeting of August 25th, 2021 of the Capital Area Regional Public Facility District to order. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for September 29th, 2020.
I would move for
We got
approval.
these just a couple months after the meeting, so
Nancy, I move for approval.
okay.
This is Ken.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. And this is a point on the agenda where we ask if there's any member of the public who wants to provide any comment. Nobody? Okay. President's report, all I have is, I want to report that John Grossam has been formally appointed to a full term starting March 18th, 2021. And I note that because I want to get it in the minutes. So it's official that he's here and we welcome him to a full term. And now it's the 2020 annual financial report. Christy.
Yes, can we let Troy Wu in to be here also, if that's possible? He's in the waiting room. It looks like he's coming. Okay, so if you'd like, I can share the screen so we can talk through it. Does that work? Is that agreeable? Okay.
Works for me.
Okay, can you see my screen? Not yet?
Yep.
Nope.
You can see it?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm just scrolling through the agenda here. So I've got to this part here with the financial report. So
Okay.
again, I'm Christy Wolf, the Financial Services Manager here at the City of Lacey. And I'm pleased to be here to present your financial report. So first, I'd like to say that we submitted your financial report to the State Auditor's Office as required by the end of May. And so everything's fine there. So now, if you don't have any questions, we can, okay, I'll just move into the financial report. So scroll down here.
Hey, Krista, we lost your Adobe viewer.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah, can you make it full screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, perfect.
Let's,
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
how about that?
Great.
Okay, so
Great.
your financial report covers period January 2020 through December 2020. And you had revenues of just over 2.1 million, well, closer to 2.2. That included sales tax revenue and a little bit of interest and a little bit of reimbursements. We'll look at those a little bit on the actual financial statements. So the disbursements and expenditures of the district were 2.1 million. Just about everything that comes in goes right back out to fund two projects. One is the RAC with the City of Lacey, and he expended 1.5 million to that project and expended 618,000 approximately to the City of Olympia for the hands-on museum. And it expended some administrative expenses, but those are reimbursed by the City of Lacey and the City of Olympia to the district. So I'm just going to move forward a little bit and let you see the actual financial statements. So here's the balance sheet, the statement of net position. And so you can see you've got cash of 42,000, investments of almost 33,000. You've got some interest receivable, and this is due from other governments, and those are tax receipts for January and February of the next year that are accrued back. You've got liabilities of the same amount. Those are funds you're going to expend out to the two projects, and your fund balance is $75,659. So we'll proceed down to the often called the revenue and expenditure statement. It's now the changes in fund balance. So we show this is the activity during the year. So here again, the sales tax receipts of 2.1 million, interest on those sales tax receipts is 2,300. Interest on investment earnings is 1,300. So that's a total of 2.19 million. Let's look at expenditures. The district paid out $2.189 million. Again, those are those two projects. The audit fees that you paid were $4,400 and insurance was $3,200. And those two expenditures there are reimbursed. You know, their proportionate share, they're reimbursed by City of Olympia and City of Lacey. So you'll see these other financial sources coming in there where it's been reimbursed from those agencies. And so the net position change is 1,300, which is really investment earnings and a rounding figure. So that arrives at your $75,659. Any questions on those financial reports?
No questions?
Okay, do you have any other questions regarding the finances? Of course, I'm scrolling down here. These are notes to the financial statements. If you'd like to look at those, they're in your packet. So I think that's it, unless you have any further questions on that.
No, any questions? Nobody? Okay,
Okay,
thank you, Christy.
sure. Happy to be.
Nancy, I'd like to report that as treasurer, I read through all the notes. I went through all the financials and I'm comfortable with where everything that's presented here looks normal to me.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
Okay, so
Okay,
I've got the next item if you want.
yep,
We
you can
continue
go ahead.
here.
Interagency data sharing agreement.
Okay, so I'm going to minimize this for a minute. I'm going to drag this over onto the screen. So this is something that the state auditor sent me, and it explains what this data sharing agreement is. So basically, maybe that's a little too much. Let me switch it down a little bit. Maybe it's easier to read. Hold on, bear with me for just a minute. It says there was a bill that was passed by the legislature this year for data sharing agreements, which will be required for all state and local governments sharing data. This includes the data we exchange for the audits. And for your reference, the legislation requiring the DSAs is, there's the number, ESSB 5432, concerning cybersecurity and data sharing in Washington state government. The Office of the State Auditor has used these DSAs with some state agencies, but less frequently with local governments. The good news is that these agreements will formalize all the steps we take to protect data without requiring changes to our existing practices. We're working to implement the DSAs for all audit data shared as of July 1st, and attached the DSA is the DSA our office would like to complete with your government. Capital Area Regional Public Facilities District, please sign and return as soon as possible. So I'm going to stop sharing now. So that is what I forwarded on to you all to consider on your agenda, but that's some background. Do you have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions on that?
Christy, do you find that valuable or not valuable? How do you all feel at the office?
About the data sharing agreement?
Yes.
I can tell you that the City of Lacey has also had to sign the same agreement, as have another organization that we do the financials for. And so the way I'm told that this is just normal course of business, and because of legislation, we need to sign it anyway, but you as a separate board need to make your decision of what you would like to do. Troy, do you want to pipe in on that at all, or?
Yeah, I think maybe I would just add that this really doesn't change anything that we've done in the past. I mean, in terms of protection of data, I think this is primarily related to sensitive data. Think of payroll records that might have social security numbers and that sort of thing, which doesn't really apply to the district. But again, in summary, I would just say this really kind of just memorializes exactly what's been happening this entire time.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, I
is it
guess we need to approve the signing of that, correct?
Yes, well, my understanding is once you make a decision, if you sign it and send it back through Perry, or then it'll get to me and I'll get it to the state auditor.
Okay, great, but we do need a motion to approve it in a second.
So moved.
Go ahead. Whoever started.
I
It
think
was
Chris,
Chris. I said, so moved. Do you
okay,
need me to
Chris.
state the whole thing?
This is Ken.
No.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye. That was in favor. I was slow on my mute button, sorry.
Oh, okay. You're going to make you explain
No,
exactly.
no. And Nancy, while I'm unmuted, for some reason, when the screen sharing comes on, my laptop goes completely black and I can only hear the audio. I'm going to try and log on with a different computer here while we're going, but if I'm not
Okay.
responding, that's because I can't. Everything's just completely locked up. So.
Okay, thanks for letting us know that's going on. Next is Regional Athletic Complex, and Jen Burbidge is going to do that one, I understand.
Yep, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to see you again through the Zoom. It's always nice to see you. I've got some slides to share for the Regional Athletic Complex report today. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, as you know, it's been a rough 18 months through the public health crisis. So definitely the Regional Athletic Complex operation has been impacted by that. But we try to always be positive and look at the bright side that, we only were closed for really a short time, completely closed in the grand scheme of things, and have been able to run programs in some form or another, of course, following the COVID safety standards. So just to give you an overview, that COVID-19 had an enormous impact on 2020. We were significantly reduced with our numbers. So league and tournament play, 40,600 people as opposed to, down from over 126,000 people in 2019. Our estimated visitor count is approximately 200,000 individuals, which is significantly, so that's, more than an 80% decrease.
Wow.
And that includes the drop-in users for the park. We typically get about 1 million or more visitors to this site. So, like I said, COVID has had an enormous impact. We were only able to, the bookings were only 24 weekends during the year in 2020. And it's typically, almost every weekend out of the year. But the overview of the type of use, we did have drop-in users still, like I mentioned, people from the community. As you all know, this is a park site as well as, private bookings and rentals. So we did have a lot of people in the community able to still use the park. We did have tournaments, even though most of them were Washington State, residents only, no activity from out of state. So the tournament sizes were limited. The spectators were restricted and weren't even allowed at one point. And practices were more scattered than usual. This one is very telling, this slide. So as you know, we have the two sides of the complex. There's the soccer/football lacrosse side with those type of fields. And then we have the baseball complex, baseball, softball. These are the user groups struck out in red that were not even able to use the facility in 2020. So extremely limited compared to normal use. Economic impact, we do our best to estimate, and we see that being a lot lower, 812,617, down from a typical 3.8 million. And those are just direct impacts. These don't include the indirect. So our numbers are extremely conservative, and but you can see the significant decrease of the economic impact, and that's the spending that comes into the area because of use of the rack. But the demographics that we did get from the 24 events, so we had 440 teams participate in the 24 tournament events that took place, which equaled 6,600 players. 40 of the teams were from 50 miles plus, again, within the state. 100 teams were closer than 50 miles, and 300 teams were from the Olympia-Lacey area. Again, we can only have Washington teams because of the restrictions. So the two big challenges facing in 2020, us in 2020, was COVID-19. We canceled 30 softball tournaments, 6 soccer tournaments, and all special events. And then the smoke, the air quality issues did cause about a 2-week closure at the rack, which was impactful as well. Fortunately, this year we haven't had as much of a challenge with that particular piece, but so that was impactful. We were able to make some improvements in 2020. We had an emergency repair to the netting that goes over one of the playgrounds that's right in the baseball complex, and that was damaged because of a snowstorm the year prior. So this was fixed right at the very beginning of 2020, and we were able to get the playground open back up. And then we did have a power surge, so we had to repair some security cameras in the baseball fields. We also were able to complete our synthetic turf replacement of all the fields. So if you recall, in 2018, we did the first 2 softball fields. In 2019, we did the second 2 softball fields, the infields. And then in 2020, we were able to finish off with the last 2 synthetic fields at the complex, which is baseball infield number 5, and then the 1 turf soccer field, which is field number 1. And then just kind of, I like to, since we're all together, give you kind of a heads up on things that are coming up in 21. Well, in 21, actually, we were able to complete a parking lot expansion design and are currently considering construction for upgrading the parking lot from gravel to actual parking stalls and lights. And that's all I had for you today, and I'd be happy to answer questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions of Jen?
So I have a question, Jen. Do we, because of the COVID impact, is there any of the federal COVID fees or funds that are available to help offset that?
So the not exactly for the rack itself. There are funds. Are you talking about the CARES funding? Are you referring to the CARES funding, Ken?
I'm talking about, well, you know, cities, counties, states all get part of those federal COVID funds. Now, whether any of it was specifically allocated to this project or not is a whole different story. But
right. So
but
okay.
I was wondering if the city has contemplated allocating any of it to that.
Yeah, so there are going to be funds available, and it's a city council decision, and nothing's been allocated directly to the rack at this point. Council is still considering what to use funds for, and I see Troy pop back in, so he may have something to add on that.
Yeah, good question, Ken. Sorry, I was kind of getting zapped back in the meeting, so I missed about 20 seconds of the conversation, but I did hear Jen say that council is still deliberating exactly how to use those funds. I'm thinking that, you know, parks in general is an eligible expense or revenue, being able to recapture that revenue loss. So it definitely would be something that could be done. It's just whether, you know, council wants to move that direction. The good news is, in terms of the rack, the city council did set aside $800,000 last year to help subsidize the rack for the next 4 years as part of the rack long-term financial plan. So I think in the short term, we have a pretty good path in terms of sustainability for the next 4 years.
Good. Thank you for sharing that.
You bet.
Thanks for asking, Ken. That's good. Anybody else have any questions? No? Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll hope for a better outcome for the rest of everyone.
It's not looking very hopeful, but we'll hope.
Yeah.
Next is Patty Belmonte, Hands-On Children's Museum. Welcome, Patty.
Thank you. And I don't know if I have screen sharing. I'm hoping I do. Let's see, yes. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Great. I need to pull it over to, there we go. Okay, so I'm calling this year, here, let me go there. The Year of Gratitude and Rebuilding. As you may recall, we had 323,000 visitors in 2019 pre-pandemic. And then last year when we had this meeting, I was sharing with you all the various hoops we were jumping through to make the museum safe to reopen. And so just remembering that last July, so a little over a year, was when we reopened after the first closure. And we, at the time, pre-COVID, we had more visitors for our community size and our square footage than any of the 300 children's museums. So, you know, closing for 4 months and what we've experienced in the year after has been really startling to us, but we're rebuilding. So we were lucky in that we were the only children's museum in a phase 3 county, which meant that last year we were the first children's museum to reopen in our region, in the Pacific Northwest region. And then we were closed again between November and mid-February of this year because of the second closure mandate. I want you all to know that it was really sad news to learn that both Seattle and Portland children's museums have closed due to the pandemic. And I think that's part of why we feel gratitude about where we are right now. Seattle Children's Museum is an indefinite closure. They haven't committed to reopening. Portland is completely dissolving, and it's a 75-year institution. So that's a really sad thing. Just like the last time, and I shared with you last year that while we were closed during the first closure, we worked on our building and did deferred maintenance so that we would be spick and span when we reopened. Well, this time during the last closure, we worked with the City of Olympia to put a new roof on the building because the roof that was on had some serious issues with water intrusion. And we were also involved in a huge solar project. And so this is a lifetime metal roof. And we were a community solar project. And so in the spring, our solar array went live. And so that's been a really exciting project and certainly improved the building and also enhanced some of the programming that we could offer. In terms of the second reopening in February, we kept in place many of our stringent COVID protocols. We were doing timed admission, I believe, when I met with you last year, and we continue to do that. We have changed it this summer. It's been rolling on the hour, so we let so many people in per hour, and that's worked quite well because we do have the outdoor space. That said, we made a management decision to keep our capacity at 50 to 60%. It depends on how nice the weather is. And because we are really working hard to keep everybody safe. We really, you know, I hate saying it out loud, but to date, since this whole thing started, we've had no COVID cases or outbreaks among visitors or staff. And so we're feeling really good about the protocols that we have, and we just keep being hopeful we can continue that. I had shared with you last year that there was growing evidence that children really needed sensory opportunities for optimal learning, and that young children, especially those under 8, don't learn well online. So we've been certainly working more with youth development organizations, schools, etc., because they're realizing this and they're looking to the museum to help them augment the educational opportunities. I stuck in this quote because it was very sweet, and we're hearing it a lot. This was a family who came back to us after reopening again. And she noted that her son had lived most of his life during the pandemic. So when you think about a 2-year-old, right, and had had little time to interact with other children. And she says today during our 2-hour window of play, he came alive. It was amazing to see him playing and learning. So our first real feeling of success happened with spring break weeks. We consider a 4-month period because we serve people from all over the country on a typical year. We weren't sure that we would this year, but we thought for sure the Northwest. You can see that we had 15,000 people over a 4-week period, and we had visitors from 27 states, which seemed impossible to me for that time period. On Memorial Day, that trend continued, and we sold actually more memberships in 2021 as part of our military family Memorial Day specials than we did in 2019. So people were really ready to come back and start visiting the museum. And I put this Yelp review in here because what we really see is that we're doing a lot with road trip families, around the Northwest. And in this one, he says he decided to take a mini vacation out of Seattle, where Blippi, who's a YouTube person that I've talked to you about before, did a show. And so he talks about not being disappointed and that you need hours to do all of the things that we have here. We've been limiting visitation to 2 hours until this summer. Now you can stay from the time you come in to leaving. And noted that the best part of this museum was the fact that we were so clean. So I wanted to show you this. This is Blippi. I don't know if I showed you a picture last year. And he continues to keep visitors coming to this museum. So you can see how many views Blippi has. And if you ever watch Blippi, you will not be able to explain why he has so many views. But I wanted you to see this post. This is to Blippi, and Blippi sent it to us. My son's birthday is next week, and we will be traveling to Washington from Massachusetts to visit places you have gone. We will be visiting a bakery for some special cupcakes and Hands-on Children's Museum for some birthday fun. So we talked to this family when they came to the museum and made a big day for them. But it isn't just this family. And this is all happening during this pandemic time. We had another one. I'm not going to play this for you because I don't have it queued up, but this is a little video that was sent to us from a girl in Arkansas in a very small town. And she's saying that she really wants to visit Olympia, Washington after seeing it on Blippi. And so her parents did bring her here. And so I just thought that it was fairly amazing. We've seen that every year. Blippi has done 2 shows with us, and we've seen it after each time. He continues, and they just keep getting rewatched. We really geared up for selling the summer because we thought it would be the healthiest time at the museum, and we expected to rebuild a lot of our visitation. So this is when we really began advertising outside of our market again, which is something we typically do, but didn't do a lot of during spring break weeks because we really weren't sure how people would feel. The entire summer was focused around big adventures. And we did actually open 3 new exhibits to attract regional visitors. And we offered our regular guests and our activities, even though it was more costly for us to do that since we kept a cap on visitation. So we opened a wonderful exhibit, Bouldering on the Beach, that is very popular and is actually a boulder made out of Colorado, and it's in several parks around Canada and the US with good reviews, and it's definitely been well loved here. We also did something a little bit different for us. We did treasure sluicing for fossils and gems. And so honestly, I called around to several museums looking for something that was sort of unique, and it turns out that Great Wolf has one of these, but it's indoors and it's not very well used. It is just a huge hit. So you purchase a bag of rough, and you can purchase a fossil bag or a gym bag, and then you can explore what's inside of it. And we do have a rough for people who feel that they can't afford it or don't want to. So that's been super popular this summer. We also installed in our beach area a Digging for Dinos exhibit, and another really, really popular exhibit. You see mom working with her daughter here and looking at displays of the dinos. So this was all very intentional to help us. We knew we were going to need some things to help us rebuild our visitation. And so how did it look this summer? You can see that we've had the highest visitation since the pandemic began. And you can see the numbers there for May, June, July. We're expecting August to hold about the same, and that was a little surprising to us, but we think it has to do with the new concerns. And so we're just seeing a little bit of leveling off where every session we were selling was sold out in July. August, we don't see quite as strong a numbers, and it's been just right in keeping with the news. We did bring our first Friday night back in August for the first time since March of 2020. And we offered 450 spots for $1 a person. And every spot sold out immediately, and everyone came. So we're doing it again in September, but we're going to stagger the entry like we do in our regular visitation, because having 450 people come at once, which used to be a normal thing for us, felt a little bit like, whoa. The demand for camps, again, because parents have been really concerned about their kids not being in school or being in school very little. We sold 700 camp spots out 2 months in advance of summer camp. Even during this whole time, last year and this year, we have stayed committed to access. And I had shared with you some numbers last year, even with our decreased revenue. Year to date, from when we reopened, we've served about 10,000 visitors for free or for $2 who simply, they needed to show their EBT card. That's one of our many access programs. We kept our dental screenings going. We moved it from February because we were closed to May. Admission and membership discounts for military, first responder, and foster families continue. And really the crowning jewel of our work for the last 15 months has been our Curiosity Kit program. So when I reported to you last year, we had delivered, and I thought it was absolutely incredible and amazing, we had delivered 1,900 kits. And fast forward to today, we've delivered 16,000 kits in 10 counties to 95 schools, libraries, and youth organizations. The museum has had a wonderful partnership with Timberland Library for 25 years, and they were just hungry for, because people weren't coming to the library because they were closed, and they were trying to get them to come through and check out books from their drive-through services, that sort of thing. So we actually, the museum on its own raised all the funding for all of those kits to be free to every organization. We worked with the Boys and Girls Club, many different organizations. And you can see in the lower left here, the little girl in her car seat. That's one of the library photos. And we, so they were able to pick up their books as well as their curiosity kits. In the lower right, the boys have just made their spoon puppets. And just earlier this year, we did an entire district-wide partnership with the Olympia School District to provide kits for kindergarten students, because they were really noticing that they had been muted on Zoom for all of their virtual learning, and they needed to have something that they could interact with others. So looking at the numbers year to date, we've served in 2021, we've served 122,000 visitors. and they're from 49 states. We had visitors from outside of the US, from Canada, which sort of surprised me, UK and Mexico. And then visitors from Washington State over 50 miles or more, 13,000. So we are preparing all this information. Typically, I don't know if we've ever met this early, but we just had our gala, our outdoor gala this last weekend. And so I don't have all the comparisons for you, but I'm happy to send you that handout that I give you every year when I'll have it done next month. And I'm happy to send it to you, and I'll give you the year-by-year comparison. And then I just wanted to show you that people have been so grateful that we have been open, and there's been a lot of love sent to us on Instagram and Facebook, etc. And then I just wanted to close with this. Some child left this in the art studio, and it says, "You can't call it a children's museum unless it's hands-on." So that's my presentation, and I'll stop sharing.
Questions or comments for Patty?
Well,
I'll say
Patty's
you've done a
cut-
tremendous
cut-
job to keep yourself visible and keep kids coming and people coming. And I can't imagine having been stuck in my house for how many months with children and not being able to have them interact with anybody else. So I think it's an incredible thing.
Thank you.
So Patty, you're going to send us the sheet that you're going to prepare.
Yeah.
What kind of revenue difference or loss did you experience this year?
So what it's looking like right now, you know, what I did for you on these slides is I looked at basically what we're doing in 2021. And what I can tell you is that we're certainly doing much better this year, revenue wise. We were at close to 4 million before the pandemic annual budget. I believe we were at 2 million something 2.5 million last year. And I think we're close to 3 million or a little bit over this year. So we're building back up just in terms of total revenue. In terms of tourism impact, the last figures that I gave you were typically around 8 to 9 million a year for tourism impact. That's what I haven't done
Yeah. Okay.
yet, but you'll see that on the sheet that I send you.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Not, thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Okay, next agenda item is election of president and secretary treasurer for 2021-22. Do we have volunteers of people who would like to do it?
I would suggest, as I did last time, that if Nancy and Ken are willing to continue in the roles, I'd be very supportive of that.
Likewise.
Ditto.
I'm willing to serve.
So am I.
Thank you both. Do a great job.
Okay, now 2022 regional representative. Chris, are you interested in having your term extended or a new term,
Sure.
however they do
I
it?
have no problem with that.
Okay, great, good. They will make sure that happens. Anything else for us? Any questions, any issues?
Well, I just continue to be amazed at the work that the city of Lacey does with the RAC and what Patty and her team does with the hands-on museum. What a great program.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
agreed.
I don't think these communities could have picked better programs. They've worked out really, really well for everybody, I think. Even despite all that we've been through the last year and a half.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing else, we will adjourn.
It's great to see
Thank
you all
you.
again.
Bye,
Good to see you
everybody.
all.
We'll see you all next